welcome to Voices of the West. Today we are joined by Greg Bauer, author of A Man Reborn. Uh, Greg, tell us a little bit about yourself, or more importantly, how does a school superintendent become a Western writer?
Yeah, great. So a little bit about me. I grew up in East Texas, and certainly with a father who loves westerns and loved to stay up late at night watching the old black and white cowboy Indian shows. And so I would be laying in bed and hear my dad in there watching TV, and I'd get up and go lay next to him, and we'd watch cowboy and Indian shows and old westerns all night. And so I had a fondness of that, and then once I started reading books on my own and developed a love for it, and as a superintendent in education, I love history and I love English, and those are the two subjects that I taught. So I love the story element and all the things that go with that. And I just decided one day, you know what, I'm going to try this thing and see what happens, and see how it'll either crash and burn or someone might actually like it. So that's kind of what
That's
caused me
always the
to
risk
dive
with this.
into
Yes.
it. Yes, sir.
What is it about Westerns that really inspires you?
Well, if you think about westerns, I think that all the good westerns are really um, a microcosm of life itself, isn't it? So you think about every good plot that a Western has ever had has to do with some kind of the conflict, the struggle between betrayal of a bad guy, of a spurned lover, of a someone out to steal your what you've worked so hard for your whole life, whatever that may be. There's always some kind of conflict, and then you as a man, I think the reason why people like to read westerns is because you as a man like the escape of, how would I have dealt with that? That I can relate to that guy, and I wish I could handle things now today in my life like that person handled it in that story. And I think we all gravitate to, boy, yeah, I like the way he did that. That's me. If only I could do that kind of thing.
Definitely. What do you feel makes a good Western?
I think that anytime that you can create, and this has always amazed me about the what I think are the best Western writers, are that they take words, they put it on paper, and they cause a person to develop these characters in their minds from the words they put on paper in such a manner to where, as you're reading along through the story, you have fallen in love with the character or despise the character, but you become one, and you anticipate, and to get to your point, you anticipate being on this journey with these people as they go through their life. And I think that a Western, with the ability to do that, and so a good Western, then, whether they've incorporated some kind of love theme into that, the reader is with it, and they see the struggle of going through and trying to find the romance that goes with the lady as they're fighting the wilderness and Wild West elements that go with that, or if it's the conflict that goes with the betrayal of a best friend that you were in business with someone, and now they've gone off and they've done this or they've done this, or even in my book, an animal. You fall in love with an animal, and then the next thing you know, tragedy strikes. So I think that if a writer has been able to go through and do that, and to cause the reader to fall in love and develop that sense of relational relationship with the readers, with the characters themselves, then I think that's the purpose of a good writer, and the essence of a good Western.
Yes, absolutely. So going into and writing a Western in the modern day period and such like that, how much research do you do into it?
Yeah, so strength. Yeah, obviously it's a book of fiction, so you've got a lot of different things that go into play. I mean, you can make up a lot of the story element, but the things that are involved when a reader sits there and they go um, through the book and they come to, okay, is that really how he would have handled the horse? You got to understand, how they would have handled a horse, or when they're talking about what weapons they would have used, and he pulled out his Sharps rifle. Would they have had a Sharps rifle back then?
Go try
What
and
kind of
kill a
caliber
buffalo. Yeah.
exactly? So, you've got to research those types of things to know. As I was writing my book, every single element of my book in particular, I wanted to say, when I mentioned a place in the book, I pictured it in my head, so I wrote it down on paper. So every place existed. And I've been there, and I try to picture the story unfolding as I saw that place to begin with. And so I think to research, okay, what towns would have existed back then, and where can I take, where would the first settlements have been? So like when I mentioned Fort Worth in my story, obviously I didn't know, when did Fort Worth, would they have traveled through Fort Worth on their journey back, from Colorado, and so I had to do that kind of research too. Would that have been around in that time frame? What would it have looked like? How big would it have been? What would they have encountered? So on and so forth. So I think there's quite a bit of research that goes into that. What kind of Indians or threats would they have run across? Um, Things like that. I think the writer has to do his due diligence and check it out ahead of time.
Oh, definitely. And adds more realism the whole way through if you can do it all that way. And people are going to hear things too. And, if it rings true to what they know of history, then they're just like, okay, yeah, you bought in even further to the reality of your book. So, what are some misconceptions about Westerns that you'd like to clear up?
Well, a lot of times people, particularly nowadays in a divided society, people tend to think that you alienate a particular group, like the Cowboys against the Indians, or the Western, the person of the West is nothing but Wild West savagery, or whatever that may be. But I think a good Western will take and show that the dynamics of human life and human existence as we understand it today really existed back then too. You had good people of all cultures, of all races, and a good Western will take and show that. On this particular story, the Indian may be the bad guy and the threat, and but in the very next story that you read, the Indian may be the good guy who's helping out the whatever may be. And then in another story, the bad guy may be a corrupt rancher, or a corrupt business person, or banker. So I just really think that it shows the dynamic of threats today come from all places and all people. And I think threats back during this time came from all places, all people. And no matter where you look, you can always find a friend in any of those things that you look for in the good in people, no matter who they are, if you choose to do so.
Yeah, it's all about the characters and who he particularly is being run into in the story, which
Yes,
then
sir.
brings to the question of what comes first for you, the plot or the characters?
I think that I think you have a general idea of where your plot's gonna go when you get started. I certainly did. I I said, okay, I sat down and I developed, this is where I want the story to go. But strangely enough, as I developed the characters, the plot went in different directions. And so I said, well, it's almost as though when you're writing your characters, you get to know them more and more, and you get more comfortable with them, and they develop. They're like your best friends. No, he wouldn't have handled it this way. He would have done this. And so what you think you would have taken the story, by the time you actually get to the end of the story, or at least for me, it had changed two or three times, because the development of the character you say, well, that wouldn't have happened that way because that guy would have done this, or this guy would have advised him to do this. And so for me, I think the plot comes first, but it's subject to change based on the development of the character.
So what inspired you for your book?
Well, I think that I sit down and I listen to, just like like I share with you, that I would get up and go watch westerns with my dad and watch the old black and whites. For me, I take pride in going on several road trips with my own son, and he's 18 now, but we've shared a life of adventure together. Every year, me and him, we get away and we just drive somewhere, usually into the West somewhere, and check out this or that. And on our trips, one thing we do is we put on all, of the week or week and a half worth of driving that we do, we put on good Western stories, and we drive listening to Western books, and something that we can share. There have been many times that we've been driving that my boy will say, Dad, what are you doing? And I said, well, son, we got to stop and get gas. You can't stop now. The book's just getting good, And so to take that and want to develop something that that I guess goes along with all the stories that he and I have shared, I wanted to leave something that he would enjoy. And so on our before I wrote this book, he and I would talk about. I said, I think I might write a book, son, and we would talk about what that looked like and who would be the good guys and bad guys, and you've got to have some friends in there, and this, they got to take care of each other, just like in life. Every struggle that we have, we hope that there are friends that stand by, and we know sometimes that we have friends that don't stand by and they bail on us and they leave us in a bad way. And that's part of the book and the life journey and struggle too. So I think that just those relationships that I share with my father and with my son, and learning about Westerns through their perspectives, caused me to want to write one myself.
Makes perfect sense. What's the most valuable piece of advice you can give about writing?
Well, I would say, just stick to it, and a lot of people would tell me, oh, you're writing a book. Well, you will learn that a lot of people have a desire to write a book, but there are very few of them that actually do it. And so a lot of people you'll talk to will say, well, yeah, I started writing a book, and that's all they've done is they've started to write a book. If you're going to write a book, I say, you can always clean it up, but you got to get through the end of it. You got to work through it, and then you can go and make it better, and you can make it more descriptive, or you can cut and carve on it and do what you need. But the main thing is to do it. A thing done well is something done all together. So you can't do it well if you hadn't done it at all. So I would say that that's my first piece of advice. And the second piece of advice is don't be scared to share that. I have several, I call, my readers. I send chapter by chapter to as I'm writing, and they'll tell me, well, what is this, And sometimes they make good sense with what they're saying, and sometimes they want you to change what you're writing, but you don't want to change, and you've got to make those tough decisions too. So I think that that's having a good open dialogue with other people where you don't get defensive in your writing whenever they point out things that maybe you need to change.
Very good. So what are you working on next?
I'm working on part 2 of the Jesse Colthorpe series. And whereas the first one focused on John Dunning and Jesse's relationship with that, and then we brought in Zeb, and then that, we played out the book with that. This one focuses on Zeb. And so the book's about Zeb, and here they are, the three are going on their journey, and we see it through the eyes. We see a struggle that Zeb has through the eyes of Jesse again, and we'll see how it goes. I hope to have it out by the end of June, so we're looking forward to that.
Excellent. You're getting pretty tight on being finished then.
Yes, sir.
Outstanding. Looking forward to that. That's a good thing. Where can people find out more about you and your books?
Yeah, so people can follow me on Instagram, and it's at Greg Bauer 74, and they can find me on Facebook also, Greg Bauer. And my book is for sale through Amazon, and just look up A Man Reborn, a Jesse Colthorpe Western. You'll see the development of loyalty and friendship and heartbreak and disaster and camaraderie. I think that, which I think is pivotal in any man's life, that they've got to have those things. They've got to have camaraderie, they've got to have loyalty, and they've got to have a woman that'll stick by them and a friend that'll stick by them, and an animal, whether that's a dog, horse, or whatever it is that you tend to have as a pet. They got to stick by you too, so I hope that when people read A Man Reborn, they see those things and they enjoy it, and I hope they makes them want to pick up the next book.
Very good. Well, thank you for taking the time to join us today for this interview. I definitely appreciate the chance to talk to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Enjoyed it, and if you guys need anything else, just reach out to me. I hope that you pick up my books, and I hope you enjoyed it. It seems like you read
absolutely.
it. So
fascinating to meet you on all that. Hope to be hearing more from you soon, and hopefully be seeing the next book very shortly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Take care.